apologise for it, but
That's all right. It happens. Technology for you.
we are here. We have suddenly gone live. I do not understand what technology is playing very odd today. May I introduce you all, if you haven't met her before, to the inimitable Karen Bashford, who is an empowerment mentor. We're going to talk a little bit about that, but specifically today, we're going to talk about indicators when your body is out of whack, when it needs some tender loving care, when it needs some support. Karen, very, very great welcome to you.
Thank you. It's nice to be here again. Thank you.
Pleasure. So what are these indicators you speak of?
Okay. Well, we all know about burnout. We all know about illnesses and such like. They are indicators that the body is actually out of balance. And we talk about the mind an awful lot, but actually your body is your biggest communicator. Believe it or not.
Right.
It's always talking to you. So it's the sensations you get in your stomach, the feelings that you get in your body, that you might get an odd twinge here and there, or you might get a physical pain. That's your body indicating something is out of balance. And we only get pain, obviously, if we hit ourselves, that's painful. But our body starts indicating through pain when something is literally needing to be treated. Now, treatment doesn't necessarily require medical treatment. It can be you need to look at the emotions that are playing out in the background, which have been there for years, have never been dealt with. That is your body's way of indicating there is something wrong. Prime example is so many people complain of shoulder pain and neck pain. Yes, computers can be responsible for that because we spend way too much time on a computer.
However, like a long stick like that, staring at it.
Bent over and everything else. Yeah, I'm guilty of that. Very, very guilty of that. But pain in your shoulders, stiff neck, just real tension, and it's as if the body is going, I can't carry this weight anymore. And that's when the more regular you get that shoulder pain or that neck pain or just this heavy feeling is when you need to start looking at what's going on emotionally for you. Clients I've worked with, I'm working with one at the moment, bless her, who literally the first time we worked together said, it feels as though somebody had just lifted a whole weight off of my back and shoulders.
So are you saying that the emotional, deep-seated trauma of that kind can reference itself directly in musculature?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So for her, it was very much about a relationship she'd had with her parents. Nothing major, not abusive or anything like that in that sense, but she always felt she was never good enough for them. Even though they'd never said that, that's what she felt. Emotionally, she was holding all that tension in her shoulders and neck. As soon as she recognized...
They do say that a lot of conversation with one's parents can be unspoken, and that you can pick up a lot of negative misinformation, and because people don't tend to check, they could be just misunderstanding the way in which they show their love or whatever, because people show their love in different ways, don't they?
Yeah, of course. We've got the 5 languages of love, so yeah, we can be totally out of sync with each other because you want time and they want words. So you're never going to match that unless you have a conversation. And yeah,
that's the thing. That's the thing. Until you do that two-way communications thing, it can. So just logically extending what you've said. So through a series of misinformation, disinformation, or maybe it was correct, who can tell, from years and years of unconfirmed information building in her chest, as it were, building in her body, has ended up with this monstrous weight hanging around her neck.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ridiculous. God.
We all do it.
We humans put ourselves through.
Yeah. And that's just a typical area. People that complain of lower back pain would indicate that they're holding trauma. And trauma doesn't have to be a major thing. It can be the minutest impression that creates a massive emotional reaction. And unless that's acknowledged and dealt with, trauma is stored across your lower hip area or your lower back into your hip area.
And
people go for osteopaths and everything like that, but more often than not, it's a case of questioning yourself as to what emotions you've not dealt with.
Well, if you go to an osteopath or a chiropractor, you're effectively dealing with the end results, aren't you? You're not dealing with the cause.
No.
Wow. Okay. So is it an instant reconciliation? So the moment you realise what it is, and perhaps you suddenly it's all gone, or is it a process that takes time?
No, it can be an instant releasing of that heavy feeling. More often than not, clients say, I feel lighter, and that is literally the weight has been lifted. Other times it can be the pain gets worse before it gets better, simply because the body recognizes I'm allowed to release this now, so it lets it go. So we know that we often get worse before we get better. No. That's another indicator that there is something going on. Acknowledging that pain has got worse will often release it. But it's like anything, we do not know how our body is going to react when we start dealing with a problem. So it's a case of, just allowing it to process through. As I say, once you're aware of it, you can start questioning, why are you here? What are you trying to tell me? And things like that. Our bodies talk to us if we talk to it. So, yeah.
I have a feeling if the body's talking to me and I probably don't understand the language, I might as well be talking German, and okay, so dare I ask, can you give me some other indicators that people might reconcile if they hear this? What sort of other indications can you put to
mind? Okay, that funny sensation that you get sometimes in your stomach, it's a bit like butterflies excitement, but it's worse than that. It's not got that excited feeling.
Right.
That is often like if you get nervous, really, really nervous, and it's an indicator that you've got a high level of anxiety building up.
Yeah, I do get that.
We all get anxiety.
Right.
But we don't need anxiety. We really do not need anxiety to that level. I've worked with clients who've had panic attacks, and that's simply because we're not listening to what our mind is doing to us, which is basically overthinking and creating worst case scenarios that get worse and worse and worse.
Yeah.
If we step back and said to ourselves, okay, is this true? Do I really believe this? We can stop a lot of the anxiety that starts to build up, because you're actually questioning your body's reactions, because we get nervous because we're going, I'm fearful, I don't know what's going to happen. But actually, more often than not, if you look back, that real big fear never happens. Even the little fear that sometimes we create doesn't happen.
It's true, actually. Do you know, of all the times that I've told myself, oh my God, this is about to happen, it's all going to go horribly wrong, I look back, most of the time it never did. It was all that stress for nothing.
Yeah, but because you're not listening to your body, it just makes it worse and worse. Each time you get more anxious, it just keeps building and building, and consequently you go into panic attack. You get to that stage where you just cannot deal with anything, because your body and mind are going, can't cope with this. So yeah, it forces you to stop. And then that's the time when you really need to be questioning what is going on, instead of just accepting, oh, I've had another attack, or I've got over anxious. Question it.
All right.
It's amazing how quickly you can release yourself from anything.
Well, it can be very irritating especially when you're trying to tell yourself that, hang on a moment, why are you putting yourself through this? You know, I see other people doing it too. My wife does this as well. So before I do this, I'm a musician, a performer, and before a very, very large, important event, important people are going to be there that can lift my band to the next level or whatever. And my body's almost in fight or flight response.
Of course, because you're automatically assuming that you've got to do really, really well.
Yeah.
Because you've got to impress people. But actually, at the end of the day, if you're just yourself, you'll probably impress them far more because you're being natural rather than all tight and, oh, what if,
Yeah,
what
exactly.
if, what if.
I couldn't agree with you more. And I just have to sometimes take myself by the shoulders and give myself a good rattle. Okay, so we talked about indicators. Is there? Could you give any small piece of advice to people who are unsure about which indicators are which? I mean, would going to your website be useful?
Not at the moment because it's being updated, but when it's updated, which would be by the end of May, yeah, you'll find stuff on there that will really, really help.
Good. Well, guys, we should look forward to that. Absolutely.
Yeah. How can you tell the difference? A pain that continues is worth investigating. Never, ever ignore a pain. I've worked with women that have had breast cancer. And seriously, breast cancer is because they don't feel loved enough or they don't love themselves. So when you start getting any kind of pain, it's always wise to have it checked out. I would never say to anyone, just ignore it. You can start questioning immediately you start getting a pain. What happened shortly beforehand? Because if you've actually physically injured yourself, that's a different matter again.
Right.
So it's looking at, I suppose, your timeline of what's been happening. If there's something that's really upset you suddenly, that could be an indicator that emotionally there is trauma from previous. Because we always add to our trauma. We never take away from our trauma. We only ever add. So
the burden just keeps increasing.
Yeah, yeah. That's why you get heavier and heavier shoulder pain. Because you're just not releasing any of it. You're just keeping it in and holding on to it. So yeah, look at your timeline, what's been going on. That is usually a prime indicator of, oh, I've literally hurt myself, fine. Or I've got this big event coming up. So yeah, this is understandable that I'm getting worried. But if there's something that's not really been happening, investigate, but also look to the past as to what has happened previously that could have created an emotional reaction that's been added to what's already in place.
Wow. So one of the best things I think you could be doing if you see yourself in any of this, if this sounds like something that maybe you want to address, one of the best things you could be doing is visiting Karen's LinkedIn page, because at least there you'll have an opportunity to book some time, have an initial chat, investigation. So I've placed a link down the bottom. In fact, if you type into Google Karen space Bashford space empower space you, she should pop up straight away as one of the first responses. And then what I would recommend is connecting to her, but also you'll find a link about a quarter of the way down where you can set up an initial chat. It's not, don't think about anything more than that, but it's more of a getting to know you kind of situation, so you can work out whether or not you're going to be right for each other, and perhaps even at that point, some truth will rise, bubble to the surface, encouraged just by that interaction. Karen, thank you so much for taking time out to spend with me today. As I've said in the first one that we did, this is every day's a learning day, and I keep learning about new bits and pieces. I had no idea that you could reference such physical pain by emotional burden, and it's a little bit of a shocker. But I think you'll notice over time, Karen and I will investigate through different aspects of how the corporal body can be affected by emotional burden, and also hopefully you'll pick up some tips and tricks. Bear in mind her website will be going live when, do you think?
By the end of May. It will be definitely live by the end of May. It's a big build going on at the moment.
Not long now, guys. Not long now. But I would say as a starting point, travel to her LinkedIn entry there. Karen Bashford, Empower You. And at least that you can start the conversation. Karen, it's a pleasure as ever. And I wish everyone listening, please have a successful last couple of days before the end of the week. And of course, sound mental health. Bye-bye now.
Bye.